Welcome everyone! In this video, we are going to be diving into my top 5 best teams for the Little Jungle Cup. It's been quite some time since we've had the Little Jungle Cup. Last time I remember it being a little bit of fun. I think it's the closest thing we have to an open little format because it's such a very broad meta. But it is still a limited meta at the end of the day. So for those of you unfamiliar, it takes place at the little format. That is a max CP limit of 500. And it only allows normal, grass, electric, poison, ground, flying, bug, and dark type Pokemon. So if a Pokemon has any of those typings, it is allowed. That is a very broad meta and should be some fun. There is no evolution requirement. The only exclusions are the typings. So as long as a Pokemon comes in at 500 CP or less and it has those typings, it is allowed. So very broad, should be a lot of fun, and we've got some pretty solid teams for you guys. So with all that said, let's have a look at team number 1. All right, guys, here we go. Kicking things off, we've got team number 1 featuring likely the strongest core you could possibly run in this meta. It leads with Galarian Stunfisk on the lead, Cottonee on the safe swap, and Altaria in the back. So this is working out the way I remembered, and that is anything that is pretty darn good in the Great League is going to be good in this cup. I dubbed it the mini Great League last time we had it, and not a whole lot has changed. There are a few additions to the meta, but it's still very much the same overall. So G-Fisk protects our back two, particularly Altaria from the Charmers and mostly the Ice types. There are a few in this meta that we could see, while the other two in the back protect G-Fisk from the Fighters and the Water types. So very, very strong team overall. Let's have a look at this scorecard here. If it will load, let's go. Here we go. All right. Amazing scorecard. It's very difficult to get a pretty high bulk score, as you can imagine, with a meta like this. But a C is actually not bad, considering the CP limit. Everything else looks fantastic. We get an A for coverage, you get that C for bulk, B for safety, and an A for consistency. You don't get much better than that. Let's have a look at these matchups. Holy smokes. G-Fisk is going to be a monster in this meta, just as it is in the Open Great League. No surprise there. Look at all these wins on the lead, my goodness. Of course, it's going to be losing to the Fighters and Pseudo-Fighters in the meta. And to the Fire Fang users, there are a couple lurking in the meta, most notably Litleo, and if anyone happens to have one, a Fire Fang Pyroar as well. Those two can cause some problems with the team. Although G-Fisk can fight back against those because they are fire types, and G-Fisk, its charge moves happen to hit fire types for super effective. So G-Fisk can still put in the work. That is not a lead that I would stay in on. However, I would stay in long enough to grab a shield or do massive super effective damage with a rock slide. And then look to go right into Altaria and see where that gets you. If they do happen to become a bit of a problem as the meta settles in, you could always bump Altaria up to the lead, and that will clear that problem up real fast, if you know what I mean. So there is a very strong Mud Boy as well in the meta, known as Wooper, but we've got adequate coverage for that in the back. The only challenge, if you can call it that, would be Pyroar / Litleo. And that is how I would play that out. But everything else with this team is pretty darn straightforward. This is looking to be a very strong team, relatively accessible as well. So yeah, should be a pretty strong team for you guys to get started in the Little Jungle Cup. It leads with Galarian Stunfisk on the lead, Cottonee on the safe swap, and Altaria in the back to bring it home for you. So with all that said, that is team number 1. Let's have a look at team number 2. All right, guys, moving right along to team number 2. Another very powerful team, probably equally as strong as team number 1. It leads with Ducklet on the lead, Shelmet on the safe swap, and Gfisk making a return in the back this time for this team. Another very powerful core, that being Ducklet and Gfisk, almost as strong as Ducklet and Altaria. And you round that out with a very safe and strong safe swap option coming in the form of Shelmet. And then, you've got something to work with here. So let's have a look at this scorecard here. And look at that. Holy smokes. What a scorecard for the Little Jungle Cup. My goodness. A for coverage, B for bulk, A for safety, and a C for consistency. And if you're wondering why that is because Ducklet relies very heavily on a move that severely lowers its defense, forcing it to swap out or take massive damage. So that can skew the consistency for PV poke. But this team employs the Brave Bird and Dip strategy. If you're unfamiliar with that strat, it is quite simple. You build up to Brave Bird, you throw that Brave Bird, and you either one-shot something or you grab an early shield advantage, and then you make that play in the Shelmet, play on from there. The shielding priority primarily goes to Ducklet. As we can see, it is quite dominant. Ducklet is an absolute titan of any Little Cup format that it is eligible for. That is just the nature of Ducklet in these formats. And as we can see on the lead, my goodness, holy smokes. Look at these wins. All of these purple and pink X's are all wins on the lead. You don't get much more dominant than that. Although it does have some answers, that being Gfisk, Onyx, and Skarmory. I'm not sure how many Onyxes we'll see. They are out there. They might be pretty prevalent, to be quite honest with you, as Onyx is quite bulky and it runs Rock Throw. So it's an excellent answer to the flyers in this meta, as well as the bug types. And speaking of Onyx, it can be a bit of a problem for this team if you choose to lead it the way I have it formatted here. You could very easily, the flexibility of this team, you could very easily put Gfisk on the lead and run it somewhat ABB style, where the two back Pokemon serve as anti-fighters. So 2 different ways you could run the team. That's more of a conventional way, or you could employ it this way and run the Brave Bird and Retreat strategy. Either one will do just fine, and either one will give you a lot of success as well. But with Onyx, you can't really stay in there. You can a little bit to get off a Bubble Beam, I guess, but I'm not sure it's really worth it. You're kind of going to have to tap dance around that one, employ what I call I refer to it as the tactical maneuvering, if you will. Go in the Gfisk and see what comes of it. Basically, it's a team effort, not gonna lie. Skarmory is not too bad. At least you're not taking super effective damage. The bubble beams do add up. Skarmory loses quite a bit of its bulk coming down to the 500 CP limit. And I would play Gfisk the same way I would with a Onyx. But again, if you're running into a lot of those, just bump Gfisk up to the front and run it in a conventional manner. That might be a little bit more flexible for those of you new to Go Battle League. Gfisk on the lead, a lot safer, I would say. And Shelmet would still serve as the safe swap, and Ducklet would be an amazing closer. So you could run it 2 different ways. The team number 2 is looking to be quite strong, every bit as strong as team number 1. It leads with Ducklet, Shelmet on the safe swap, and Gfisk in the back, or vice versa. You could bump Gfisk up to the lead as well. That is just the flexibility of this team. It allows you to run it in 2 different ways, employ 2 different types of strategies. So with all that said, that is team number 2. Let's have a look at team number 3. All right, guys, here we go. Team number 3, another very powerful Little Jungle Cup team, leading with Altaria on the lead, Vigoroth on the safe swap, and Galarian Stunfisk yet again in the back. You basically need a Gfisk to be pretty. If you're you want to be ultra competitive. You really want to rack up the wins. Gfisk, I think, is very much worth having. This is actually a team that I ran last Little Jungle Cup, and I had a lot of success with it, and it's still every bit as good as it was last time. This time around, the two back Pokemon are your Steel Answers, and Altaria answers the Fighters. Very simple. So let's have a look at this scorecard here, and not bad. Very similar to team number one. Slightly worse in the bulk department, but again, it's a 500 CP meta, so not you can't expect too much from the bulk score. But we do get an A for coverage, B for safety, and an A for consistency. So those are all very good. And let's have a look at these matchups. So Altaria, very strong on the lead. It cannot handle ice or steel types, but we have answers for those in the back. So anything like that, any fairy, any ice type. I think the most common ice type that we'll see will be Swinub, and I would imagine a lot of people do have a Little Cup Swinub, as it has had multiple community days at this point. A lot of opportunities to get a Little Cup Swinub, so I do imagine there will be quite a few. It was quite prevalent during the last Little Jungle Cup. I don't see that changing this time around. So anything like that, you're getting out, but rock types, all of the obvious hard swaps, you're going in the Vigoroth and looking to mix things up from there. G-Fisk can serve to be an excellent closer, just as it can in the Great League. So those of you who played the Great League, this is actually a reflection of, I think, team number 3 from my top 5 best teams. The only difference is my top 5 best teams for the Great League, I had Reggie Steele in the place of G-Fisk. So if you're familiar with my top 5 best teams and you've tried team number 3, or it might be team number 1, it's been a while since I've looked at that list, but it's on there. This is a little mini version of that team. So yeah, it's every bit as strong in this meta. Pretty straightforward, very strong and solid team overall for the Little Jungle Cup. It leads with Altaria on the lead, Vigoroth on the safe swap, and Galarian Stunfisk in the back. And if you happen to have a Little Cup double, that will work in the place of Vigoroth as well. Both of those two are very much similar in their coverage. So if you have a Little Cup double, that will work in the place of Vigoroth and vice versa. So that is team number 3. And with all that said, let's have a look at team number 4. All right, guys, here we go. Team number 4, another very solid team for the Little Jungle Cup. A pretty fun team. Looks to be pretty fun. It leads with Golbat on the lead, Stunfisk on the safe swap, and Scrafty in the back to close. I've actually got a Little Cup Scrafty. I had to check. I wasn't sure if I did, but I've got one. Holy smokes. Oh, that's going to be fun. I'm definitely going to try this team out. I wanted to go full-on Poison Double Dark, but the other dark types in the meta, you don't really get a good scorecard, but that's all beside the point. This team is going to be quite good. Pretty obvious dynamics. Golbat and Scrafty pair quite well together for very obvious reasons. Golbat handles the Charmers and the Fighters, while Scrafty handles the Ice, Steel, and all of the other things that Golbat happens to be weak to. You round that out with a solid backbone to any team and G-Fisk. And again, you've got something strong to work with here for the Little Jungle Cup. Let's have a look at the scorecard. Very strong scorecard. A for coverage, D for bulk, B for safety, and a B for consistency. Very solid scorecard. Very solid team overall. Golbat, it's actually going to be quite strong in this meta. That Poison Fang spam is no joke, quite lethal, especially at this 500 CP limit. It does have its weaknesses, though, of course. It doesn't like ice types, doesn't like steel as well, so we've got 2 excellent answers to those in the back. Pyroar, apparently, that thing just keeps coming up, continues to be a thorn in the side for my top 5 best Little Jungle Cup teams. I'm not sure how problematic it really is for Golbat. It's a very narrow loss. So I think that one is worth staying in on. The way this team is set up is you've got 2 fail safes for the charmers that may be lurking in this meta. So you can soft lose lead in a lot of cases and still have that charm coverage for Scrafty in the back. And make no mistake about it, Scrafty is the closer on this team. Those of you who tune into this channel quite regularly know how fond of Scrafty I am as a closer. It is quite strong. Once you get that power-up punch train rolling, Scrafty can be next to unstoppable. So that is how this team is played. So yeah, you basically want to stay in on a lot of these narrow losses, and then you can easily just come in with G-Fisk and look to play on from there. And if you win lead, that's great. You just stay in and win lead. So very strong team for team number 4. Golbat on the lead, G-Fisk on the safe swap, and Scrafty in the back. I'm very excited to give this team a try. Should be a lot of fun. So that is team number 4. And with all that said, let's have a look at team number 5. All right, guys. Last but certainly not least, team number 5. A very fun and solid team for the Little Jungle Cup. Leads with Skorupi on the lead, Double on the safe swap, and Swinub in the back to close. Let's have a look at the scorecard here. Not bad. Pretty solid scorecard for team number 5. We get a B for coverage, D for bulk, A for safety, and an A for consistency. Skorupi is very interesting. I've run it quite a bit in the past in other formats. I can't remember if I ran it in the last Little Jungle Cup. I probably did. It is quite spammy. It runs Aqua Tail and Sludge Bomb. So it provides proves to be an excellent answer to the fairy types in the meta, as well as the fighters. It has some coverage up against those ground types as well, although I would not stay in on those because most of the Pokemon that are weak to the Aqua Tail that Skorupi has do still edge Skorupi out on the lead. So if you're met with something like that being a G-Fisk or an Onyx, you're going to go into Double and look to play on from there. The Fire Fang users are not fun either. You're still just going to want to go into Double. And again, Double and Vigoroth, in my opinion, are both interchangeable in this meta. If you don't have a Double, you can run Vigoroth and do just fine with that. But yeah, Skorupi on the lead, quite strong, quite solid, handles the fairies, which I do think that we are going to see a lot of. So if you are seeing a lot of that, you might want to consider this team. And Swinub in the back can be quite the closer. The thing hits like a truck, has access to Icy Wind and Body Slam. I think no matter what, you're going to want to have Body Slam, but you could also go with Ancient Power over Icy Wind, although that debuff is quite nice. Icy Wind does prove to be a very solid move in these little formats, so the standard moveset should be just fine on Swinub. So the dynamics of the team, Skorupi protects our back 2 Pokemon from the fighters. Double on the safe swap is meant to draw out that fighter so that Skorupi can take it out, clearing the way for Swinub to sweep the game for you, hopefully, if everything goes according to plan. So that is team number 5, Skorupi on the lead, Double on the safe swap, and Swinub in the back. And that about wraps it up, guys, for my top 5 best teams for the Little Jungle Cup. Should be an interesting meta. It will be running alongside the Ultra League for finishing off the last Ultra League cycle of the season. Should be a nice change of pace. Very broad meta. It's not one of the broader specialty cups, to be honest. So should be some fun. We've got 5 very strong teams here to set you up for the most success. But guys, I had a blast. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, I thank you for watching and keep up the grind. Thank you, guys.